Oh my God. Oh my. And who's helping afterwards, i.e. the post, support to all these creative ideas? Are there groups again? Are there teams?
Yeah,
Are
it's
there
linked to
companies?
a lot of companies, some foundations are involved.
Okay.
And then, members of the teams are looking to see what the options are.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Because I mean, if you think about it, if you need help, Gavin, I mean, I'm also innovation facilitator of workshops,
mhm.
which I did in corporates a lot. And now we created our own company, which is called Inkick, with
Okay,
my co-partner. So we are the ones who are really taking it from the ideation phase up to the validation, prototyping, testing, revalidation if need be, etc., etc. So if you need any help, you can reach out to me.
sure. Yeah. I think we've got 86 attendees now.
86. Good.
So we are live on YouTube at the moment, and we have about less than 2 minutes before the actual start.
I sent you a graph on WhatsApp, Karen.
Okay, thank you. So are we ready to start?
Yeah, Karen, if it's 5:01 now, I think you can start.
Okay,
All right.
so welcome everyone to our short session today on boosting creativity. So we're really excited to be here. My name is Karen Bavnani and I work with MCI Group. We're a creative and events management company. We do live and of course digital events. So we are about community building, and so this is just something that we love doing, and we're happy to be here. So there are 3 of us here in the room today, so I'm going to go ahead and ask Julia to introduce herself, and then Danielle.
Thank you very much, Karen. Welcome, everyone, to this exciting journey and day today. My name is Julia Kurt. I'm the co-founder of InKick, which is for innovation. Kick your idea, get out of your comfort zone. We are organizing workshop facilitations around innovation concepts, little bits, bytes, learning pieces for example, agility, about design thinking, lean startup, or the whole, as well as career boosting, as well as public speaking. And thank you very much. I think I hand over to Danielle.
Hi everyone, I'm behind the scenes. I turn off my video to give you all a little bit of more space. I work for Mural, which is where we're doing this presentation today. So I'll be helping with the presentation. Happy to be here.
Thank you, Danielle. So just to start with, what I wanted to do is ask everyone to take 10 seconds and draw a house. Whatever comes to the top of your mind. I'm just going to give you a few seconds. So how many of you drew a house with a main frame and a roof? And I'm guessing that most of you drew a square house with 2 windows and a triangular roof. And if that's the case, that's how the majority of us work. Is there anybody that wants to share something different that they could have drawn and just added into chat?
I just see
3D house.
I just see that. So yeah, third house. Yes, you're right. Hi, are you going to share this deck? Are we not sharing the deck?
Of course, we will share this at the end of the session. That way we can make sure we also include whatever notes that we have in chat.
Absolutely. Skyscraper, a tent. Okay, interesting. Stars, mushroom house. That's an interesting one. A rounded house. Quite different. A tent, a cabin, igloo. Yeah, in the Antarctica. It's nice. House, roof, window, door on a perspective where you can see the side of the windows. Interesting. A yard. Okay, that's interesting. A cozy house with chimney and smoke. Wow.
So this is the beauty, in fact. So we have different perspectives already, and I love that. So the idea with just starting out like this is to, we're all in confinement, we're all in our homes. And so it's about how can we get ourselves outside of the comfort zone and think about something that we already know from a naive perspective. So maybe if we asked this question of a child, maybe they'd use their imagination and draw us a spaceship or something quite different. So this is just a reminder to us that as we go through this process to also be open to different perspectives and different mindsets. So I'm going to pass this over to Julia. Can you lead us?
Of course. And you see already on the screen, what does creativity mean for you? And with that, do you have a creativity booster to share with others? Again, if we can have about a few seconds to see in the chat, what does creativity mean for you? Do you have a creativity booster to share with others, maybe? If we look into the chat, if there is anything which is coming up to your mind, thinking outside the box, some music, absolutely, creativity, yeah. Tapping into something with no explanation, just let flow. Finding diverse solutions, not the obvious one. Have a visualization. Walk the dog in the forest, that helps.
Get out of the house. I think so.
That's the booster. We love the booster. Out of the box, take a shower is a good booster. Guarana, Didn't understand that, but that's something specific, I guess. Meditate, listen, humor, absolutely a lot of ideas, and we can go on forever here in the chat. This is absolutely great.
Wash the dishes. Yes.
Dishes. Okay, everyone has got a different career booster, of course. So thank you very much. We love all the ideas which are flowing into the chat. This is absolutely interactive and magnificent what to see there. Sewing, oh, that's not bad either. Again, creativity. If we say creativity, what does it mean? It has got this wonderful and very high pressure on it. It has got the spin that it needs to be something completely different or something from scratch that you need to create. Creativity can be anything. Everyone can be creative, and it's just little tiny things which leads you to creativity. For example, a change in your daily habits could be creativity. To change the way you go home, to discover something else, creativity. Again, thinking out of the box, absolutely creativity. And get out of your comfort zone, try something else, discover. Again, this helps to have and boost your creative mind. Even just gazing into the stars would boost your creativity. And the most important part is as well, not to shy away. You just ask to learn, ask to make it better. Even a dish that we always cook, for example, in a habit, ask feedback from the family. Is it good? Is it tasty? Do I need to add more salt or maybe more pepper or whatever? Get the feedback. Don't shy away, because you will improve the process. And what you get out of this is creativity. But at the same time, don't overcomplicate things either, because we tend as human beings to overcomplicate. The simpler it is, the better it is. Simplicity is key here. And if you think about a creative mind, don't think too much out of the box either. Build on what you have as a foundation and then think ahead. What else? What if? All these wonderful questions that we can ask ourselves. What if you have a magic wand and there are no boundaries? What would you do to solve a challenge, an issue, a problem, or something you want to create? So creativity is vast. And unfortunately, we don't have too much time either here. This is just a little glimpse of how you can boost yourself and think creative. We can move to the next slide. I have compiled some quotes from Albert Einstein, which we would think he is the guru of creativity, right? But he's not. He's got so great quotes you can't imagine, and some of them you see on the screen here. The one which is most favorite for me is imagination. Imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge can be acquired, absolutely, but knowledge is limited. You cannot know everything. But imagination is across the boundaries, and that's creativity. You can think of anything. You can think of a carpet to move somewhere out into space, for example, or anything else. That's why imagination, don't limit yourself in the imagination. Get out of your comfort zone, let it flow, and think freely. We can move to the next slide, which is about positive attitude, i.e., before we jump onto that, agile characteristics. And in innovation hackathon, we all talk about innovation methodologies, innovation attributes, verbs, words. And one of them is agile. Agile is very important in the space of innovation. Why is that? Because we need to be flexible. What is agile? Agile is about collaborating. It's about working together. It's about being flexible. It's about having a positive attitude, for example, absolutely, towards things or challenges that you need to solve. Thirst of knowledge is another one. And that's a very important one, thirst of knowledge. Try to think ahead, ask for feedback, ask to know more, ask what if, where, how. And don't shy away of asking questions, because this is how you will learn. Goal of team success, that's another of the agile characteristics. And the ones that you see on the screen, it's not all of them. It's just a subset of agile characteristics. Why is goal of team success so important? Because it's not about the individual to be heroic or whatever. It's about a full team to support each other during challenging times. And that might be even that you leave aside what you have at hand to help to achieve that goal of the overall team. And it's an imperative and very important aspect of working together, collaborating, sharing the challenges, the successes, and everything which comes together. And that means you would achieve what you want to achieve. Pragmatism. Pragmatism, it's about practical, absolutely, but it's also about finding the correct ways or methodologies to solve a problem as well. And practical means, what can I do now without spending too much time on really assessing all the ins and outs and pros and cons? Sometimes we need to be quick in decisions and you cannot waste time. Or you need to assess if it's about a customer. What does the customer need now that I need to solve now before I can move on and maybe solve the initial root of the problem or the issue? So be practical. Assess what's important at this point and what's versus what's urgent. Because sometimes what's urgent might be not important or vice versa. To be flexible in this way and to change it around and juggle the balls in the air, have this practical mindset. Willingness to fail. It's not about really, I want to fail. No, it's about the opposite. It's about getting as much as information as you can if you want to do something. But if it fails, it's not the end of the world. It's another attempt to success. Hence, we don't say it's failing. It's actually another methodology to get feedback to make it better for the next time. Because this time around, it didn't work. And that's absolutely acceptable. That's why you need to accept that you might fail, or we shall say it was not successful actually. So don't shy away of this either. It's a very important agile characteristics. And last but not least, think fast, think slow. You would think this is actually controversial. Absolutely it is, because we need to have both. In some situations, you need to think fast, specifically visualize yourself in the middle of a jungle and you see a leopard. Well, you're not going to sit down and assess the pros and cons, right? What you do is intuitive, emotional. You run away. That's it. And sometimes you need to think slow. So take a step back and assess the situation because you can allow yourself to do so. So there is a combination of all these characteristics which forms the agile mindset. And a mindset is a way of thinking, of assessing ourselves. And that's very important to change your mindset slowly but surely. To change it, it's not easy. A mindset is formed from your background, how you have been raised, who are your friends, your culture, your country, the local unspoken traditions and habits and rules that you have. But again, everything can be changed with correct questioning yourself, with what if, where, how, and yes, it is possible. So with that, I think I hand over to Karen.
Okay, next slide. So let's take a quick imagination that we're in the middle of this hackathon and we really are stuck. Maybe we need, maybe we're low on energy, whatever it is. So it's really important to take breaks just to boost creativity. So you can, when we're in our busy mind state, we're really not activating the full potential of our brain. So what we need to do is to relax ourselves, and that allows for the subconscious and conscious parts of our brains to be performing at optimally. So what I've done here is I've listed some techniques, some tools that the different teams can use just to break up some of the hard work that people are doing, and just take that moment to relax. So there's a lot here: movement, laughter, association games, puzzles, etc. So if anybody also has some additional points that they want to share on resources, for example, I have some apps that I can share, which I will do with the slides afterwards. But there's also some other things that can be done in addition, and that's adjusting our physical environment. Um, Also knowing that there's a lot of inspiration out there. So taking a few moments to be inspired by things that are happening within that technical space, but then expanding and looking beyond that. Just a few things about the physical environment. It's interesting that colors, blue and green, for example, are most linked to creative thought processes. So you may want to surround yourself with some greenery if you can. Lighting is very important, and also having the natural sunlight and some background noise. So this is interesting. You can find apps that give you that feeling of being in a coffee shop, because that feels good for us. So it enhances our creativity. So all of these things that we have the capability to do when we're in this busy part of our time. So the other thing is coffee or tea. Anybody have any thoughts on what's better? So generally, tea is actually better, because these are some of the more recent findings, because when you're over caffeinated, you in fact are more productive in thinking, but not in thinking in a creative way. You're more productive in thinking and doing mode. So we can move to the next slide. So the creative process, we can break it down in 5 steps, but there are many different models. And all I want to do was share with you this model of a creative thinking process. And really, when you come into the hackathon, you've already done some prep work, and then you're iterating. So you're going to be moving back and forth from incubation, evaluation, and illumination. So we can move on to the next slide. So here I wanted to share with you some tools to use in the creative thinking process. I think one of the images isn't showing, but that's okay. What I can do is describe that to you. It's a tool from the University of Darden, and they have a lot of resources on design thinking. So it starts with understanding the problem, so the preparation phase, and then looking at what is, what if, and then what wows, and then how can we evaluate. So I really liked this way of looking at how we can empathize and how we can start to solve problems. So I've shared here some resources, and I think it's also important to understand that when we're questioning, putting in the right frames for questioning is really important. For example, I'm going to just pick on Danielle here and ask him a question. I'm going to see, Danielle, if you had to start a business and we were going to start a business together, in putting together a car wash shop, what ingredients would you put in?
Well, the necessary infrastructure for the cars, and some soap, and maybe some employees to wash the cars, and yeah, I think that would be it. Yeah.
So then let me reframe this question. So what if we wanted to create a different experience? What if we wanted to associate that? What if we want an auto spa? What would you add to this to this car?
To
Auto spa.
To an auto spa, some essential oils, some really nice scents and smells, maybe a part of the auto spa that they can go to a sauna while they wait while their car is being washed, something that they could paint their nails, etc. Things like that.
Great. So just by asking a different question, we got a more enriched answer. So that's just one example, but in terms of question framing, when you're in the middle of understanding and evaluating, really digging deeper and asking those 5 whys, then going into what if, and then how might we question. So I've listed a whole bunch of other resources here, from the Board of Innovation to the really big idea, Sketchpad and Mural. So I really like this. And the nice thing about Mural is they have lots of tools that you can use, and you can collaborate fairly easily in the app itself, in the software. So we're not using the collaboration mode because there are many people here, but I've listed this out, and we can move to the next slide. So there are a lot of also important practices to keep in mind that improve team processes. So this is a study that was done by Jean Lipke out of the University of Darden. And I wanted to share this with you because it's just a summary. It tells you about the practices, the mechanisms, and then the impact. So from a team perspective, if you have the right facilitation, if you have the right dialogue, you have the right listening happening within the teams, though that really results in having this mechanism of psychological safety, which is really important in how teams work. So things like, rather than when ideas are being expressed, rather than saying, well, maybe no, that doesn't work, but maybe something else, that's a very negative approach. But other types of approaches, by really actively listening and saying yes, and these types of things, conversations and dialogues, really bring psychological safety in groups, which results in a lot more successful implementation. So next slide. Thank you. So the other thing I wanted to just wrap up and share with everybody is that when you look at a lot of the top innovations around the world, they're using some top 5 techniques. What I've done here is shared the top 3. One is the subtraction method, task unification, and multiplication. So in subtraction, what you're doing is you're taking out an essential part of something, and making it, and then replacing it with something else. So if I look to the side here, we have Netflix as an example. We have Dora, we have the keyless entry as an example also. Task unification is another one where you're bringing together an object to perform many tasks, like a sleeper sofa, for example. And multiplication is where you're having an object performing many different tasks, like a Fitbit. So there's a lot more. I'm really simplifying it, the use of these methods, but there's a lot more information if you follow the link, and we can, this will be available as a resource. But I want to wrap up with a video from my colleague in Brazil who runs hackathons in Brazil under Campus Party. So he's going to share with you his
Hello,
thoughts.
everybody. This is Ney Neto, speaking from São Paulo, Brazil. I'm the Innovation Director for MCI in Brazil, and I've been working with Mr. Fernando Tomé, who is the pioneer of innovation journeys in the country and Angel Hack Ambassador in Brazil. And in the past few years, we've been running several hackathons for governments and associations and corporate clients as well, inside the Campus Party Festival, and also different innovation festivals in the country. And my friend Karen, who is always supporting the innovation ecosystem, asked me to send a couple of tips that we perceived in most successful hackathons teams participating in these journeys. So I'm gonna narrow the 4 more important characteristics in a hackathon team that I I could perceive in the past few years. Number one, they have a very well balanced team with the right skills. So each team member knows what he has to do and understand his part in the journey in the team is like a soccer team where you have the right players playing the right position. This is very important. It's better have a well balanced team than have a superstar working like a very superstar developer. Instead of it, look for having the right balance in your team. Number two, identify and choose the best communicator in your team to do the pitch, the presentation, the final presentation to the judges. This is very important. So think about it. It's easy to figure out and understand, and of course you always can do it with more than one team member and split the pitch. But think about it. It's common to have a better communicator who's able to make a better presentation in front of the judges. You can take advantage of it and having a powerful pitch. Number three, plan how you are going to use your time. It's related to time. So be very strategic in how you split your time. A general recommendation for you would be use at the beginning 10% to understand the briefing, discuss the briefing in a challenge. So 10% of your time using with the discussion and deep understanding. Then you take 20% of the total time and discuss with your team, deciding which is gonna be the solution that you're going to develop. So take time to brief and rebrief and think about and design thinking. 20% of your journey time to decide what's gonna be the solution. And remember, you must be open because you can change it in the future when you start collecting feedback from your mentors during the journey. So 20% for deciding the solution. Then it's time to work. It's hands-on. You can use like 50% of your time executing the idea, coding, developing. Then 10% testing, running the platform, checking the UX front end and all of that, do tests. And 10% preparing, finishing your deck or your presentation or your front end if you're gonna do a demo, but it's 10% rehearsing the pitch. It's very important. Conclude the pitch and rehearse it together, present to each other 10% of your time. So at the end to rehearse, it's very important to rehearse. And last but not least, this is the fourth tip that I can do. It's be very clear about the real value that your project is adding to the community or to the world. You must be secure and safe and together with the real value proposition that you are trying to convince the judges and be the winners of the journey you're participating in a successful hackathon team. So good luck to all of you. Keep changing the world and get together, be safe, and namaste.
So we're actually done in our conversation. We would love to open it up if there are any questions. We will provide the slide deck, and happy to be available if there's anything that anybody needs, any questions that come up. We're available. And the other thing I want to say is that Danielle is also going to be able to share with us some tools and tips in video on how we can use Mural.
Yes, I just need to get out of this screen share. Give me 1 second. Karen, would you mind sharing the screen by any chance while I get some resources?
I can't. I think you have to unshare.
Stopping the share. All right. So I'm just going to get some resources here. So I am Daniel again. I work for Mural Support. This is where we did our presentation today. And I'm just going to get some nifty resources that can get you all started. If you're curious for remote collaboration, I'm going to plug this into the chat here. So this is I'm plugging in our resources for Suddenly Remote. It's actually a new site that we launched today, which has our best tips and tricks for working remotely, especially if you are forced to work remotely in a very sudden way. So one of the first things you will see is the definitive guide to facilitating remote workshops. And then we have all of our webinars and our best content collected all in one place. So
the only last thing I want to add to that is Danielle didn't mention that what's really powerful about the Mural is that you have a lot of templates and that you can really interact within the tool. We didn't do that here, but that is an option. So so we have some questions. I think I'm going to start to address a few of them. So where will the slides be published? Maybe Gavin, if I can ask you to answer that one. If not, we can answer some of the questions that we don't have answers to after. But the one question I see right here is for you, what is the right balance between market research and launching an innovative product? So I think it's also a very broad question. How do we know when we have enough about the market? I mean, that's always a challenge, but I think there has to be, if you follow some of the processes and if you look at, you have to make some assumptions, some valid assumptions, but it is about, some level of early market research, and it's really hard to answer that question without knowing the specific question that needs to be that you're looking at and what's the actual idea. But you're right, it is a balance, and it does depend on the specifications.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Karen, I want to chip in there. It's good to have, again, you cannot interview everyone. That's not going to happen. To have a market research, make sure that you are not sending only a survey, maybe do a combination, but have interviews with the users, with your audience, target audience. Whom are you going to create this product or service or process for? And do that interview under 4 eyes with the super users you think they could be super users, or anyone you think they might not really use it but still get their feedback. So have a real extreme market research, the tops and the downs, and then a bit in the middle. And that would give you a bit of a flavor. What if your product is going on the market, if people would use it or not? Again, once you do a prototype, and that's about innovation, immediately go out and do a feedback session. Get feedback from your friends, from your colleagues or anyone else. The more feedback you get, the more you are sure that either you need to change it completely or you're on the right path. But there is not kind of magic wand to do a full market research.
Okay, thanks everyone. I think that there's one question, and that's under which form do we have to present the project at the end? I don't have that information. I think we just need to ask that of the organizers, so we'll make sure that we follow up on that. Okay, video.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Wishing you tons of success. And like my colleague Nay say, we look forward to you coming up with the right solutions. And thank you for all your efforts.
Be creative. Go for it. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, evening, and stay safe.